Hello, and welcome back to the third and final part of this Forever Winter's mini-series. Apologies for the delay here with this part, but I wanted to get as much new information as possible that I could share with you all, and I am happy I didn't rush this one because I was recently given the opportunity to speak to Miles Williams and Rael Lira about the factions of the Forever Winter. Now, I don't have much in the way of video to show here because the team are quite keen to keep a lot of their work behind closed doors and have it be seen when the game is in a good state for a wider audience to experience, so I'll be using trailers and some other art that's been given to me for this video. But the lore here, it's good. So if you're here for the universe and all of its sci-fi horror goodness, then get comfortable with your favourite beverage and a snack as we dive into the factions of the Forever Winter. Europa. Comprised of Western and Central European nations and the majority of the Americas, Europa is a faction on the back foot. Technologically declining by comparison to its Eurasian and Eurasian opponents, the kitchen sink approach is certainly an appropriate term to describe their situation. Modern equipment of the era is few and far between, reserved for the elite units and special operations teams. The vast majority of European troops are equipped with what is available from their vast stockpiles of weaponry and equipment from decades prior. This is why you see many familiar arms from the Second World War, Vietnam, Gulf War, and even the modern day in their arsenal, and also being offered to scavs who improve their rating with Europa as a faction. Given their current state on the front lines, Europa is fighting a defensive war, every inch of ground bitterly fought for and then held to the last if necessary. Every loss felt by Eurasia and Eurasia is felt more than those of Europa, who have the numbers advantage. A grim statement, and certainly one that speaks to relatively cheap value of human life in this eternal war. On the ground, Europa fights a traditional combined arms war, relying on older model armoured fighting vehicles, alongside squads of conscripts supported by mech units when they're available. UAV support units scan the field for targets, relaying information back to rear-line command bunkers who deploy their forces to counter Eurasian zombie waves or enemy mech assault. Europa can deploy more specialised troops when it's deemed necessary. Better armed and trained, these units are highly effective operators, usually given the task of blunting enemy breakthroughs, eliminating high-ranking officers, or destroying vital enemy supplies behind the lines. But their numbers are few and far between, and Europa clings on to a defensive footing that they aren't certain they can keep forever. Something has to give, and they hope it's on the Eurasian side first. Eurasia. Encompassing the entirety of Asia, the Eurasian faction is characterized as a highly advanced fighting force with arms and armor a generation or two ahead of their European opponents. The biggest problem facing Eurasia is numbers. Their forces are comparatively small, and their war focuses around breakthrough and encirclement tactics, penetrating deep into enemy lines to create pockets of enemy troops who can be effectively crushed over time, rather than having to fight on one vast front line, which is impossible logistically for Eurasia to maintain. To ensure that they can hold on to their terrain, Eurasia has taken the horrific option of weaponizing a large portion of their own populace, abducting swathes of their own civilians from the megacities around Eurasia and turning them into cyborgs. You will have seen these poor unfortunates in the trailers for the Forever Winter. Dropped from low altitude by solar-powered bombers, these former people are fully aware of what's happened to them. Their organs have been removed, their limbs replaced, and their lives now a living nightmare. They desperately cling to a thought that if they can perform their duty, they might one day be able to return to the life they once had and their families. These vast hordes of zombie cyborgs wander the battlefields, searching for European troops or any unfortunate scavs, charging them with reckless abandon, showing no fear. European troops will rack up massive kill counts of these zombies as they regularly swarm defensive positions, all with the end goal of either holding European troops in place, or on rare occasions, making a breakthrough. Mother Courage units can be seen gathering these fallen cyborgs for repair and recycling during the nights. Some will survive to once again roam the field, forever screaming internally, waiting for death, or vainly hoping for a way back to their former life. Given the superior technology of Eurasia, Their mechs are more advanced, displaying functions and combat features that Europa may have once had, but have long since lost the capability of producing. Advanced weaponry allows them to engage at longer range, and improved armor means they can absorb more punishment. Though given their smaller number, they can be easily overwhelmed by larger numbers or sheer weight of fire. Eurasian forces fight in small units, comprised of advanced mech suits of various sizes, supported by drones, small numbers of infantry, and their cyborgs. The cyborgs act as a semi-living scout unit, engaging European troops and highlighting those positions to the core Eurasian force. From there, they approach, bringing superior firepower and waves of cyborgs to wear down the defenders. The final major faction of the Forever Winter is Eurasian. This faction is allied to Eurasia and encompasses Russia and Africa. Eurasian is the force that has the least information, but what little I have paints an interesting picture. Eurasian, like Eurasia, is more technologically advanced, but where Eurasia went with more of a military focus, Eurasian instead developed more toward bioengineering and deploying units in more of a support capacity. A couple of good examples are Mother Courage and the rather insane-looking canine units that race around the field. This doesn't mean Eurasian isn't active on the front line. Their units can be easily characterized by their more rounded organic shape. It isn't known if they subject their citizens to some horrific body horror modification process or simply press people into service like Europa does, but they are arguably the most insidious in terms of their merging of the organic and mechanical. Evoking some of the body horror of Warhammer 40k's Adeptus Mechanicus spring to mind here, but it's also suggested that Eurasian are responsible for some of the rebuilding on the surface, as they seem to have units dedicated to construction, but to what end I'm not sure of. As a final note about the factions and the war in general, I was told by Miles that the war has long since lost all central command structures. No single side has a full picture of what's actually going on around the world, and who exactly is left in certain former territories and countries. Long-distance communication for Europa is done via drones, which will deliver messages that could be months old at a time when they arrive. All that's known is that each sector is still in an active state of conflict with their opponent, and that until that ends in victory, they don't know what to do afterwards. Some sectors are still governed and coordinated by local command structures, while some are being run by virtual intelligences who are still playing a massive game of Risk with their opposite number. More terrifying, however, is that some of these VIs have broken their shackles and are now running a war of their own design, unbeknownst to the people that it's currently commanding. What these free AI intend to do is impossible to determine currently, and could end up being a bigger threat than anything that any one faction could represent, or possibly even a threat to humanity itself. Taken as a whole, the situation's pretty fucked up, to put it in the plainest of terms, and in the middle of all of this, you play a scav, the most insignificant element of the war, a dreg, a blip, a bug. You're so small and inconsequential in all of this. That's what keeps you alive. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this dive into the lore of the factions of the Forever Winter, and I'll be looking to make more videos in the future when more information and gameplay is revealed. Until then, thanks to everyone who's subscribed to the channel because of the Toofy video. A massive thank you to Fundog Studios for taking the time to speak to me about the game, and a very special thanks to Madison for being extremely patient with my regular emails. Have a good week, everyone. Again, apologies for the delay in this video, but I hope it was worth it, and I'll see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.